Hi, bitch. This isn't really a look. We're gonna... That's a little better. So, Bobby Burns opened his dumbass mouth again. Is anyone surprised? But this time, we have the added fun twist that he had his little brother in the video to back him up. Yay! Because we all know that family is totally infallible, and they definitely don't stand behind you in your delusion because they're family. No, family totally calls you out on your bullshit. All the time, right? I love it when the white balance just gets all fucked up and my face totally disappears. Awesome. So basically, there is a channel called The Rewired Soul, and the person who owns this channel, his name's Chris, and he's a recovering drug addict. He's been in recovery for over 6.5 years, and since then, he's been making videos largely about mental health, and what he does is uses examples that are in the YouTube community. You know, for example, when a creator puts out a video on their own mental health or what they're going through, Chris sometimes will extrapolate from that, use it as an example to teach you how to handle your own similar situations. He doesn't diagnose people. He never ever tries to tell people how to live their lives and what they should do. He gives them suggestions on paths that they should take, or tells them why it's leading them on a bad path. And the reason that he has the authority to even say that is, well, first of all, because we all have the authority to say it, but second of all, because he has twice the amount of life experience as all the people he's talking about. Generally, the people that he's making videos on, they're like a little bit younger. They're not young children, like they're vulnerable. They're adults, but they're younger than Chris. They don't have the life experience Chris has. You know, they don't have children, they haven't been through a marriage or a long-term relationship the same way. They haven't been through drug rehab, they haven't recovered from an addiction and gone through the chemical and biological changes that go through addiction and recovery over a long period of time. I think a lot of people actually have no idea about how much drug use alters your literal brain structure for the rest of your life and how recovery can undo a lot of that, but there are things that stay with you. You have to work against them for your whole life. And Chris is an extremely self-aware person, and he's always the first one to admit to his faults, to admit to his wrongdoings, and to call himself out. It's all about accountability. Now, obviously, you can probably tell whose side I'm on, and that's because I can see the difference between a 20-something who just moved to LA, acting extremely fucking erratically over a period of several years, reinventing himself all the time because he's not happy with who he is as a person and he can't please everybody, but he really wants to because he's not secure in himself. And I can see the difference between that and a person who is currently stable, has been doing the same thing for a long time, knows their path, and can like see the path of other people. The problem is with all of us, with everybody, is that we all get caught up in our own shit and we can't see the way out because we're still caught up in it. The reason some other people can kind of see a way for you and help you, push you there with tough love, is because either they've been through that or they've been around so many people that have been through that. They've watched them go through it with their own two eyes. They know what's going to happen to you, or along the lines of what might happen to you if you continue down a bad path, and that's why they try and encourage you to turn your shit around. And now, for the accusation that Chris called Bobby a drug addict, that is just flat out not true. And in fact, right in the beginning of the video, Chris says...
So before I get started, here's a disclaimer that a lot of people are going to disregard and leave angry comments anyways, but figured I'd do it anyways. So first thing is, I'm glad that Bobby is safe. I'm happy for him. I almost died multiple times. And yeah, I'm glad that he's safe. Second thing is, I am not saying that Bobby is a drug addict or alcoholic. I am not saying that Bobby is a drug addict or alcoholic. I am not saying that Bobby is a drug addict or alcoholic. I'm going to talk a little bit about self-medicating though.
So I know Bobby probably didn't really pay super close attention to this video, but he really should have paid a little closer attention, or at least if he was going to lie, if he's being actively dishonest, you shouldn't have mentioned the name of the person that made the video, because we can all just go and watch it and see very clearly that never at any point in the video did he try to diagnose you. And if you think he's implying that he's diagnosing you, that is a you problem, not a him problem. You know, there's this saying that everyone should take away, everyone should think about, and that is offenses taken, not given. So when you extrapolate something negative from what someone else is saying and you take it personally and you say, oh, you're saying this, you're accusing me of this, that's your own weakness coming out. It's not theirs. And realistically, he has no reason to falsely accuse you of being a drug addict, because we all know that, like, you know, smoking a lot of weed, it can be detrimental. I smoke way too much weed. But I acknowledge that, you know, and we all know it's not the same as like having an opiate addiction, but it's also not something to shove off completely, because chemical dependence or dependence on any substance or dependence on anything to get you through the day that also has, you know, measurable drawbacks like damage to your body, your lungs. You have to weigh the consequences of those things. And if you're not willing to admit that, you know, you use a lot of weed, or you use weed irresponsibly, i.e. going out, smoking a shit ton, maybe having a little to drink, I don't know, but either way, smoking a lot, a decent amount, and then getting into a car wreck and saying, well, you can't prove that I was high. I wasn't high when I did it. I'm not a drug addict. Like, thou doth protest way too much. Way too much. The thing is that when people do get into car accidents and they're high or they've had something to drink, their immediate response is to deny and to always say that they didn't have that much. It's not that bad. I promise I wasn't doing it this time. But no one has any reason to believe that, because what you show everyone, what you show the public, is that you smoke all the time. So you really can't blame people for having the perception that, oh, Bobby was out at a party a couple hours before he got into this wreck. He was probably really high because all he talks about is how much he loves weed. It's not a baseless accusation. It is a completely reasonable assumption, and if anything, I think a lot of the people calling you out for this are doing it out of concern. Bobby has a lot of fans, and he has a lot of dedicated people who've been watching him for years, and they've been stuck around since CinemaSins and since before that. Like, he's had his finger in all kinds of pots, right? He's touched all kinds of people's minds and hearts, and they followed him for a reason. I followed him for a really long time too. I like the guy a lot. I don't like the fact that all of us, well, not all of us, a lot of us can see that this is some kind of like manifestation of, I think, a combination of stress, untreated depression maybe. And again, I'm not trying to diagnose him, I'm just going off what he said in the past. It's a combination of things like that, the loss of his relationship, you know, moving across the States to a really expensive, high cost of living area where it's really, really hard to like make a name for yourself because everyone is trying to do that. All of these changes, they lend themselves to making you into a different person. And the reason that Bobby can't see that himself is because none of us can. You don't watch yourself change in the mirror or in the world around you. It's other people who notice it and point it out to you, and then it's your responsibility to take that in and say, shit, am I actually changing, or is this someone projecting onto me? Is this someone trying to make me feel bad for something? Like, if there's a common denominator, if multiple people are coming to you saying the same thing, there's probably at least a little bit of truth to that. And especially if a lot of those people have supported you in the past or still are subscribed to you, still watching your shit, and they're coming to you from a good place. They might be frustrated, they might be mad, but they're coming to you from a good place in their heart. Listen to them. Genuinely listen to them, and listen to the Rewired Soul. You don't have to like the guy, you don't have to agree with everything he says, but I think it is absolutely worth it, every single instance in your life, when you get this chance, to speak to someone who knows what they're talking about, okay? When someone has the life experience and they've come through on the other side and they're better for it, and they're always the first to admit every wrongdoing and every way that they managed to correct those wrongdoings, you listen to them. Because that person has gone through insurmountable pain. I don't like to compare people's lives, but it is a fact. It would be easy to say that Chris has arguably gone through a lot of experiences that Bobby hasn't yet gone through. And because of that, that's why his input is valid. That's why it deserves to be brought to the table and not misrepresented in the way where Bobby says, he made his channel off of me. That is completely dishonest. Only a handful of videos on the Rewired Souls channel, which has over 600 videos because he uploads almost every single day. Only a handful of those are about Bobby Burns, and actually they're not even the most viewed videos. So I don't really think that Bobby did a lot of research. I think he just saw something that set something off in his brain that was like, you know what? defend yourself, because this is bullshit. I don't want to confront this right now. I don't want to look at the reality of my life right now. Just get it out of here. Just dismiss this shit. Go on to your audience, get your brother beside you, and just shut this shit down. Because you have the bigger audience, you have the bigger voice, you can just squish him down and say this is a lie. But it's not a lie. You're the one lying, Bobby. Like, it sucks to see. It really does suck to watch someone that you once really enjoyed the content of become someone who, you know, their own demons make them dishonest. That is a sad thing to see. It doesn't make me hate Bobby, it doesn't make me angry at him, but it does make me pretty frustrated because, like I was saying before, I can see an easy path for Bobby getting back to where, maybe not back to where he was, but to a better place, to a new normal. You know, I think that would involve probably dropping this whole, you know, trying to constantly change myself to find myself persona, and instead just stick to one or two little things, just little projects that you can work on by yourself. No one else needs to know about. Like, continue with music, continue with making videos, but instead of making them centered around negative shit, focusing on all the pain and struggle that you've gone in your life, because in fact just compounding it all like that all together, making your identity, just makes it worse. Focus on the blessings that you have. Focus on the fact that you have this platform, you have this audience of people who will cheer you on until the very fucking finish line and then some, okay? You know, like, when this YouTube shit all blows over, there's still gonna be people like 10, 20 years from now Googling your name, Bobby Burns, trying to see what you're up to, and they want to see you doing well. They want to see you happy, healthy, not getting into car crashes, not acting super erratically on social media, just doing your own thing and being your comfortable self. I'm pretty sure, like, I would safely bet all the money in the world, that is the majority of what your audience wants for you. That's what they want. So please just listen to them, even though it's really hard to listen to them, because they have your best interest in mind. Obviously not all of them, but listen to the ones that, you know, you'll get this gut feeling. You have a gut feeling. If something is bullshit and you can separate it from the gut feeling of, is this actually bullshit or is my brain playing a trick on me? Listen to it. I guess that's the whole moral of this video. I want to expand a little bit more on weed too. I'm kind of tired of people, you know, saying that weed is like a harmless drug. It's really not. Like I said before, I smoke a lot of weed. I live in Canada where weed is completely legalized recreationally now, and the effects of marijuana on a developing brain are just not advisable. You know, I think adults who want to recreationally use weed from time to time, go for it. But I don't think it's something that should be abused, because everything has the potential to be abused. I abuse it. I'd like to get help for it because, you know, it's expensive and kind of a shitty habit. And I guess that's the difference between me and Bobby. But at the same time, Bobby's only been smoking for a few months, maybe a year, I'm not sure. So we'll see how long it takes for him to get bored of relying on a plant to feel calm, to feel collected, to be creative. Who knows what he uses it for? People all have their own reasons, but at the end of the day, coming back to respecting your audience and listening to them, do them the favor of being really honest about what you put out there. You don't have to be honest about your whole life and tell us all the details of everything, but if you're gonna put something out there, make sure it is true. Make sure it's real. Make sure you would confidently stand by this. Like, if you're gonna put out this video, think, in a year's time, am I gonna like still stand by this? Is this really a moral principle that I actually hold? Or is this something that I'm reacting to? This is just an emotional reaction, a knee-jerk. If you can separate those, I think Bobby's channel, Bobby, if you're watching this, your channel, I think you will be great. I think you'll be fine if you just listen. So thanks for watching my video. I'm not a YouTuber. I just felt the need to make this because, you know, it was kind of really frustrating to watch someone lie about a really honest person, as I think it is for most people, pretty frustrating to watch. So yeah.